Friday could be huge in world historical terms. I mean, it's D-Day for Russia. It's the day that Donald Trump probably will go from friend to full-out enemy. Now, I know all the attention seems to be on the war in Gaza instead, and that's, of course, just got worse. And just the warning, the footage we're about to show is distressing, but his family wants the world to see it. Hamas, encouraged by support it's getting from the left, has walked away from peace talks. And Israel, shocked by a video showing Jewish hostages deliberately starved in Gaza, has just ordered a complete occupation of Gaza to free them. But all that said, and all that's important, the far more important war, one that's killed probably 4 times more people, threatens a new world war, a nuclear war, is the one in Ukraine. Now, Trump, the US president, started off blaming Ukraine for getting getting invaded by Russia. But he's now done a complete U-turn. And last week said, well, that's it. I'm disgusted by the Vladimir Putin stalling, stringing me along, disgusted by the carnage I'm seeing by his bombing of Ukrainian civilians. And last week he said Putin had until this Friday to make some kind of serious peace proposal, or Russia would be hit with more sanctions. And so would any other country that helped it. And that's not all. Last Friday, Trump hit the roof when former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, Putin's attack dog and a drunk, threatened Trump with war, saying Trump's playing the ultimate game, the ultimatum game with Russia, 50 days or 10. You should remember 2 things. Russia is in Israel or even Iran, and every ultimatum is a threat and a step towards war, not between Russia and Ukraine, but with his own country, Russia versus America. Don't go down the Sleepy Joe road. Now that mockery didn't suit Trump at all. He ordered 2 nuclear-armed submarines in response to move closer to Russia.
A threat was made by a former president of Russia, and we're going to protect our people.
Now, I'm sure that was just theatre. America would have nuclear subs within striking distance of Russia all the time, I should imagine. But Putin now realises this is serious. Medvedev has been stopped from tweeting. Putin has invited a Trump envoy, Steve Witkoff, to come to talks, I think probably tomorrow or Thursday. And Putin's spokesman has warned everyone, including Trump and Medvedev, against making nuclear threats. But the Friday deadline is now ticking, even if Trump overnight was sounding a little less bellicose.
What happens on Friday if the deadline comes and Russia has not agreed to a ceasefire?
Well, there'll be sanctions, but they seem to be pretty good at avoiding sanctions. You know, they're wily characters, and they're pretty good at avoiding sanctions. So we'll see what happens.
Joining me is Peter Jennings, a former Deputy Secretary for Strategy in the Defence Department. He is now Director of Strategic Analysis Australia. Peter Jennings, thank you so much for joining us. What are you expecting on Friday? Can Trump really afford to again chicken out of confronting Putin at last?
I don't think he's going to do that on Friday, Andrew. My sense is that Trump has made up his mind, as he does, about Putin over a period of time. He's given Putin every opportunity to show willingness to negotiate an end to the conflict. Excuse me, and Putin has been unprepared to do that. So I think what we're going to see on Friday is quite possibly a toughening of America's response to Russia, maybe a hardening of sanctions, or other measures that Trump will put in place to put more pressure on Putin. I think that's the most likely outcome.
So what do you think's at stake here?
Oh, a great deal is at stake. It's certainly true that Russia and Ukraine are both feeling exhausted. I don't know how long both countries can really go on at the level of military tempo which they've been fighting over the last few months. But it's also the case that Ukraine is far from defeated, and so this conflict is going to continue. It's much clearer now than it was a few months ago that the Russians are not for negotiation. And therefore, what I think is really at stake on this particular occasion is what steps can the Americans take, along with the Europeans, to put more pressure on Russia. And I think we're now at a point where Trump is going to follow through with that. He's not going to back down in his support of Ukraine. And so this is potentially a really important moment in Trump exercising American power to say to the Russians, you now have to find a way to back down from these military operations.
Yes, and of course China's watching because it wants to see how strong American and Western resolve is here before it launches a potential invasion of Taiwan. In fact, China's foreign minister said in an unguarded moment a couple of weeks ago, China cannot afford to let Russia lose this war. But I just wonder whether whatever Trump does will be enough to stop Putin.
Well, I guess what we've seen with the American response to Ukraine is that it's been always late and always less than is actually necessary to achieve decisive battlefield advantage for the Ukrainians. But I do think that Trump is now in a different place to where he was when he was inaugurated. He's now got a tougher view of Putin and a sense that the Russians are not willing to negotiate to try to find a solution here. And at the end of the day, I think Trump realises that what's now at stake, Andrew, is not so much solely Ukraine's position. It's actually about American power in the world. And he can't afford to back down on that because, as you say, if he does, the Chinese will just see that as a green light on Taiwan. So I think on Friday, I hope we'll see this, a tougher Trump, and that's what we need.
Yes, but whether it's enough to break Putin, that's the issue, isn't it? Meanwhile, you've got Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, who's ordered a complete occupation of Gaza now by his army to find the 20 or so Jewish hostages still thought to be alive. Here he is.
We must continue to stand together and fight together to achieve the war goals we have set, all of them: the defeat of the enemy, the release of our hostages, and the assurance that Gaza will no longer pose a threat to Israel. Later this week, I will convene the cabinet to instruct the IDF on how to achieve these three goals.
Peter Jennings, some 600 former Israeli security chiefs, even prime ministers, have now appealed to Donald Trump to stop Netanyahu. They're saying more war is a mistake, can achieve nothing's counterproductive. Who is right?
Well, what I would like to see here is a clear military strategy that I can understand. I have complete sympathy for Netanyahu's view that they need to continue to fight to attack Hamas. But I think we've got to understand what potentially that means. If there was going to be an Israeli Defense Force complete control of Gaza, that could take tens of thousands of additional IDF soldiers. They've already lost several hundred in the military campaigns of the last 18 months or so, and could easily lose that number again if what is in contemplation is a sort of a full lockdown of the Gaza Strip and house-to-house clearances looking for Hamas fighters. Is that what's in contemplation? To me, that doesn't make military sense. And so what I think we need to get here is we need to find a way that Israel's traditional friends can engage with Netanyahu and his administration to understand what's going on and to find out how we can provide help, because otherwise I think, yet more troops going into Gaza is not necessarily going to fix the situation and ultimately is going to create more Israeli casualties, more IDF casualties. And that's not a solution, Andrew.
It's a terrible, yeah. Well, it's a terrible position, isn't it? I mean, what the Prime Minister can say, no, we'll stop fighting when Hamas or terrorist groups have just released pictures of them deliberately starving to death two Israeli hostages. What, you're going to turn your back on that and walk away? It's very, very difficult. Anthony Albanese has meanwhile rung the president of the Palestinian... Well, Anthony Albanese, though, has just rung the president of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, to talk about recognising a Palestinian state. Is that a good idea in the circumstances?
Well, I think both the call and the idea of recognising a Palestinian state is a bad idea for the very simple reason that it rewards Hamas. And Hamas has publicly said that that's how they see it. Albanese should be really cautious about this. And he should pick his friends more carefully. Abbas is hardly a partner to be doing business with on the future of Palestine, given the position of the Palestinian Authority. It just seems to me that Albanese rings all the wrong people these days and visits all the wrong people. And he's failing to understand, some core Australian strategic interests about who our real friends are and where we need to be dependable in supporting those friends.
It's so true, but it's such an easy way of pretending there's not a problem, isn't it? To just define it as no problem and chum up to the Chinese dictator and chum up to the Palestinian Authority president. Problem solved, so easy or not. Peter Jennings, thank you so much indeed for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.